90 plus 102 minus 30 plus... Wait, did I say 94? I said 94, didn't I? 94 times 2. To my podcast. I'm Naomi and this is NJ Knits, where I talk about my knitting. Welcome and so happy to see you today. To start off, I'm going to read off a couple of comments from the last video that made me smile. I couldn't choose this time, so I chose two. If you're new here, I just like reading off comments that make me smile from the previous video, so that wasn't very explanatory, was it? I just literally said the same thing. Anyways, carrying on. So the first comment, I've been having a serious deliberation about some yarn that's hand dyed to look like granite, and it was a whole thing. There was a whole thing. I've got lots to say about it. But anyways, I was talking about rocks and how I love geology and rocks and collecting them. So the wonderful Fernanda from Little Monkeys and Me, if you haven't checked out her podcast, definitely check it out because it's lovely. I'm sure you already have. But, well, why am I assuming about your life? Anyways, you may or may not already have because she's very popular and wonderful. She says... I just love spending time with you, Naomi. Thank you, Fernanda. You are hilarious, and I love the random things you say. My oldest son collects rocks too. That's so cool. When he was little, his pants would almost be falling down because he had so many rocks in his pockets. Listen, I understand. I get that. It's happened to me on more than one occasion. Let's just leave it at that. And then the other comment I wanted to read out that made me smile, really made me laugh a little bit, was Sherry Kramer said, my husband kindly put your podcast on for me when he knew it was time for me to wake up from an afternoon snooze. I have to tell you, Naomi, my eyes popped open at the word giveaway. And yes, thank you again for a great podcast. Love your sweater. So amazing. Just like so many things are amazing about this comment. Firstly, just like that husband deserves an award. He's like, what's the best way to wake someone up from a nap? I'm just going to put on something that they enjoy. That's just lovely. And then secondly, waking someone up by talking about a giveaway. I'm very pleased to provide that service. And yes, I do have a giveaway to talk about. Partly the reason why this episode is so much later, there's so much time between the last episode and this one than normal, is that I didn't have any time to get to the yarn shop to buy stuff for the giveaway. So I couldn't like have this episode where I'm having a giveaway without stuff to give away. So anyways, yarn shop happened yesterday, all is well, and I have lots to talk about. I've got WIPs, I've got WIPs and more WIPs basically. I don't think I have any finished objects for you today. But lots and lots of WIPs, lots of exciting stuff. Listen, if I chose to just work on the Welcome to the Jungle sweater until it was done, I'd probably have to stop doing the podcast because it would probably be like 6 months with no finished objects. It's kind of interesting. I would never do it because it wouldn't bring me joy, but it would be really interesting. I'd be very curious to know how long it would take me to finish the Welcome to the Jungle. It was the only thing I was working on. But to be fair, it would probably take me a long time because I'd probably just stop knitting if I only had the chance to do one project. Anyway, I hope you have something to drink. I've got, again, double fisting it as I seem to enjoy doing. Thing is, the cups in this flat, I'm back in Prague, if you'll probably see some pictures in the intro. the cups are just tiny. Like they maybe don't look that small, but like that's small. That's really small. It's really, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just first world problems maybe. But I'm like, I have to make 2 cups of tea at a time to have a normal cup of tea to me. I'm also one of those people. Raise your hand if you're one of those people who steeps a tea bag twice. It's okay. I'm with you. You're like, there could be more in it. I could get more out of it. Anyways. Okay, so whips. I do actually have some acquisitions. Mostly it's acquisitions for the giveaway. So let's get started. Actually I have a new cast on as well. So let's get started with our very favourite. We're going to start with the Welcome to the Jungle. Partly because I'm a little bit warm. So I'll show you the Welcome to the Jungle. Oh, what I'm wearing. So this, what I just took off, this is my September sweater. September jacket, I think it's called. I knit this in an eBay purchase. It is, it's like an acrylic mohair alpaca blend. You can kind of see it's got some like long hairy fibers on it. I got it on eBay. I think I got about, listen, I'm not sure, but I think I had like 16 balls and each ball has like 420 meters. And I got it for like, £14 or £20 or something. Anyway, I got it because I loved the color. And I was like, well, it's from eBay, so it's not technically buying new acrylic. It's just making use of some that's kicking around that somebody else doesn't want. So I try not to buy new, like a plasticky stuff because just because I don't want to like include myself in like it being produced, because that's kind of like difficult for the environment, I think. So if I'm not buying it new, then I'm not like adding to the like, because every time you buy something, it's like a vote, like, yes, I think this is good. And so like, I don't want to put votes in for like people producing plasticky stuff. So I try not to do that with clothing, with homewares, just like if I want something that's like, easy, I'll try and find it on eBay. You can find pretty much anything on eBay. Anyways, I'm rambling. So I bought this on eBay and it was so much yarn. Anyways, I held it double and I made the September jacket, and then once I'd finished doing the arms and the like vesty bit, I was really happy with it. I didn't want to do the placket or the pockets because it's meant to have a button, like a collary bit and pockets. But I decided I didn't want to because I love it how it is and it's great. I kind of realised like actually I quite like cardigans that don't close because I always like the idea of a cardigan and then I go to a shop to try one on and I'm like, this doesn't work for me. And I think it's mostly because I don't like how a cardigan looks on me when it's like closed up. I don't know why. These quirks. Anyway, I'm also wearing my it's a pattern by Kadri and it's the something bralette. What's it called? The starts with a B, I think. I can't remember. I'll put it up. I'll have a look and put it up. Yeah, I made this with the leftovers from a jumper that I made, and it turned out well. It's very short, but yesterday I spent the whole day socializing, like the whole day. I went out and I went walking, went to the yarn shop, and I went to the shops to buy my like food shop for the week. And I don't know if other people are the same way, but like I find it weirdly taxing to go to the shop and like do my food shop. Anyways, and then I went climbing with other people. who hadn't been climbing before, so that was very social, and then had some coffee with them, and then I got home and pretty much straight away went out to dinner with someone. Listen, it was a lot. It was a lot of socializing. So today I'm giving myself all the tea and I'm giving myself all the soft clothes. I've got these like joggers on that are just like the softest things. And I'm doing some podcasting, and it's just, this is what I need right now. Anyway, so that's what I'm wearing. Here is the Welcome to the Jungle. I'm taking off the little, this thing which I use to knit the jumper. I finished the spots. Look at that. There's an arm. See the raglan there. It's very uneven. I'm not sure exactly why that is. It must be due to like when you do the increase, it like pulls on the raglan stitch. And when you don't do an increase, it's a looser stitch. I'm just imagining it's all gonna block out. This is my yarn tails here. When I changed colors finally. And when I did that, you'll see I have no ends. Here's the back. And that's a good thing because this is reversible. So one doesn't really want ends. Can you see the bit where I laddered down? Yes, it is right here. Well done. But I did ladder down and it doesn't look weird anymore. It's just a random splotch. I think it's just the unevenness of the stitches now that's kind of showing up. I think the raglan stitch looks a lot better in the dark color. Obviously, it just means it's just because you can't see all the unevenness of the stitches. And here, my friends, is the new color. Look at how non-contrasty those colors are. I mean, this is going to turn into, for this whole section, it's going to turn into a strictly daylight-only knitting project because that's difficult to see. The pattern's easier because it swirls, so it's just like, you know, move over one each time kind of thing. And it's more repetitive, so that's good. But the yarn is much harder to see, so that's bad. But that's what I wanted, so, you know, sign up for what you want. I got it on a bigger cable now, so I can you can kind of see sort of the size it's looking to be. This is not for me, this is for my partner who has much bigger shoulders than I do. So I think it's going okay. I mean, at the moment, it looks like it's fitting me. But I don't know. Maybe it'll come in a little bit once the collar's on it. But look how cool it looks. It's really cool. I think my row gauge is looser than the pattern calls for, which is good because my partner is A, very long in the body, and B, in between a medium and a large. And I went for a medium just because my gauge is loose. And listen, a girl wasn't changing the needle size, okay? It's already a 3mm needle. Normally I go down half a needle, like half a mil, because I have a loose gauge. Normally I go down a needle size. But girl weren't going down to a 2.5, okay? This wasn't happening. So I was like, listen, I'll do a smaller size. The smaller size, I'll do the normal needle, and hopefully my gauge will be a bit bigger and it will end up slightly bigger, which I think it is. So I'm really excited. It's really cool. And now I've got super long time. I'll show you this side as well. It feels really soft and lovely. It doesn't feel heavy, even though it's like two sides, obviously because it's Arwetta. And the colours on this section now. Oh, I'll show you my leftovers. I'm so excited about the leftovers from this project. I'm going to make the coolest socks. So the colours for the top, the leopard print, is 145 and 371. I don't know why this one has like a different label to this one. Maybe it's like a special colorway. Anyways, it only needed one ball, and that's the leftover I have, which is a fair amount. I would say, oh, interesting. Feels like there's more blue than pink, which makes 100% zero sense because, oh no, maybe it's just the distribution. I think on this side the pink is thinner, but on this side the pink is thicker. Okay, I was like, because that makes no sense. It's literally exactly even. So that's the colors for this, and then the colors I'm doing for the swirls are 192 and 146, and that's the only purchase I made. Was I didn't technically have enough of these colors, but they didn't have enough in the shop, so I had to wait for them to get more in, and so I got another ball of each because I didn't have enough for what the pattern called for. I think they're different dye lots. Yeah, they're different dye lots, but they're pretty good for a match. I was slightly worried about the green when I saw it in the shop. I thought, oh, that's darker, but now I'm seeing it together. This is the new dye lot. It's not that different, really. I'm thinking maybe I'll do this bit for the sleeves using the two new ones. So that was a sneak acquisition there, but it was just basically just finishing up the yarn that I needed for the jumper. And so that's good. I don't have to worry about it because I kind of thought maybe I can get away with just having, I think it called for 4 balls and I had 2, or called for 3 and I had 2, or it called for 4 and I had 3. I can't remember which one. Anyways, so now I'm all good on that. And I'm just really excited about what I'm going to do with all this leftover Arwetta, because I have a ball and a half of olive green Arwetta from the ranunculus I made my friend. And then I have leftovers from the Christmas socks I made. So that's like a forest green and like I think it's like the marshmallow or the white-ish creamy colour. And so that's really exciting. All my sock yarn extras. I'm going to make some cool stuff with it. I can't wait. So yeah, that's the Welcome to the Jungle. It's moving along. Currently, do you want to know how many stitches are on the needles currently? Where's my iPad? I actually was wanting to know this and then I forgot. I thought, oh, I wonder, and then I forgot to check and see. So let us find out together. So, okay, we have to minus 19 from this number. So 113 minus 19. Okay, well, you minus 13 and that's 13. So then what's 19 minus 13? That's 9 minus 3. That's 6. So 100 minus 6 is 90. 10 minus 6 is 4. 94. Okay, so 94 stitches. Oh, sorry. 94 stitches plus 102 minus 30. Oh, goodness sakes. I'm just going to do it on here, because that's the back and the front. Plus 102 minus 30 plus 102 minus 30. Okay, ladies and gentlefolk, that is 332 stitches. 332 double stitches on here, which means that every time I do a round, I am knitting 664 stitches. And folks, it's only gonna get more. By the time I split for the sleeves, I will have Time for more maths. 132 times 2 plus 117 plus 200, basically. 464. When I finally get to split for the sleeves, I will have 464 double stitches, which means I will have 928 stitches per round. I think it's going to become like an hour per section later on. Well, listen, instead of becoming terrified, I'm going to say to myself, look, this is only going to make socks feel that much quicker. I have been feeling like, wow, socks are so quick lately. I've already forgotten that number. I don't want to remember it. 900 and something? Hey, you know, that's what it is. So that's what it is. Okay, so scraps are excitedly being held for some kind of project, which I can't wait for. I will show you the progress on, speaking of socks and speed, I just dumped all this stuff out of my bag. I went out yesterday and I was almost at the toe of my second sock in my new cast on that I'll show you in a second. And I was like, do we get this? What if I finish the sock and then I have nothing else to knit on while I'm out? So I brought these with me as well. These are the socks. You've seen these before. I'm making from Daughter of a Shepherd wool. I mean, just look at how gorgeous this wool is. It's just like, It's scratchy, it's fluffy, it's amazing. It's not that sheepy, really. It's well washed, I guess. So here is a one sock. I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I do a version of a round toe. I really hope I wrote this down because I don't remember what I did for the toe. I think it was just straight, I think I said it on the last episode, didn't I? And I think it was a 5-4-3-2-1 round toe. And then I do graft at the end because I prefer it to be grafted rather than pulled tight. Partially because I like the look of it, and partially also because my toe doesn't end my toes don't end on a single point. Actually, they kind of do. I have a really long middle toe, so they do kind of end on a single point. But like the pulling together, sorry, to back it up for anyone who's not following, because a rounded toe, you do sort of, instead of a wedge toe where you just do decreases on each side, a rounded toe, you do decreases kind of all around. And I said this the other day, I was like, a rounded toe, oh, I might have put this on Instagram, a rounded toe is like a yoke construction on a jumper, and a wedge toe is like a raglan construction on a jumper. So the increases on a raglan, or decreases, depending on how you're making it, are like part of the design, and it's something that's obvious and visible. Whereas on a yoke, the increases or decreases are hidden throughout the thing, and so it just kind of like, woo, just whooshes out, and you don't see the increases or decreases. So it's the same with the toe. And normally with a round toe, or the way a round toe is like designed to work, you do the decreases throughout, and then you get to a point, and you thread the wool through all the live stitches and pull it tight, like you might for a hat. Well, you would for a hat generally. But I don't like to do that because that's one thread that's holding 5 or 6 live stitches. And if that one thread decides that it's had enough, then all my live stitches are basically like free to unravel. Whereas if you graft it, you've got each stitch is stitched individually, closed. So you know, if one of these threads breaks, then it's like one thread in any part of your knitting breaking, you know. And also I kind of just like the look of it kind of ending more flat like that. Anyway, so here's my hoe. I think it turned out really nicely. It's a little bit fat on the middle, but I think that is because someone mentioned on the last episode, well, you are using sport weight yarn and you did your cast on for like normal sock weight yarn, so it's not surprising that it's a little bit baggy, Naomi. They didn't say that. They weren't facetious and slightly mean. That's me being facetious and slightly mean to myself, which isn't necessary. I can actually just be nice to myself. No one wants me to be mean to myself. So, here it is. I also had a fun comment. Someone's like, I'm never not going to laugh when podcasters try to show off their socks. But here it is. It's so lovely. I think it probably, most of my socks do. So I don't treat my socks that well. Or I don't treat them with that much delicacy, I guess. So they do tend to felt a little bit, my socks. And I'm sure that this one will as well. But since it is slightly oversized, I'm actually probably going to want it to felt a little bit. It is a little bit oversized, a little baggy around the foot, a little baggy around here. But I love it. I think it's beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. Hello. Anyway, it's also very warm. I had a really funny situation where I walked in at work and someone was like, oh my God, my feet are so cold. My feet are so cold. They were wearing socks, actually some cotton socks that I had made them. And I was like, and like the heater had turned off. So it was actually legitimately really cold. And I was like, quick. And I had this finished object and I was working on the other one. I was like, put this on one of your feet. It'll really warm it up. And they did. And they were like, it actually has, like immediately over the top of the other like cotton sock. And it made me laugh. A, that was my reaction, and B, that it actually kind of worked. So I did a twisted stitch ribbing, and I also did an Italian cast on, which is kind of my preferred one now for socks. I just think it looks really, really nice. I like the look of it, just like going straight over, onto the other side. And then I did this technique for the stripes so that you don't have a jog on it. There's a few various techniques. You can kind of see it going diagonally. But I did one where you lift up the leg of the stitch below. So here it is. I don't know, still showing it to you. I'm very happy with these, and I was really going to finish them. But I had a test knit and I was like, I can still finish these before I start the test knit. And then I was like, oh no, the test knit's due in like a couple of days. I better finish these, put these aside. So I did put them aside. I was all the way down to here on this sock. And then I use a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I really like. It kind of makes the socks, Fish Lips Kiss heel makes the socks harder to like sit flat. Obviously, that's not what a sock is designed to do. It's designed to go on a 3D thing. So it's not really a design flaw that it makes it sit flat less prettily. I don't know. Anyway, I'm currently using my ring as a stitch marker because with this technique, every time you change to the old color, oh, you can see it on the inside, see? You change where the beginning of round is. So the ring is actually really useful because I like to walk and knit. Every time you get to the beginning, every other time you get to the beginning of round, you have to take the marker out, hold it, do the technique, and then put the marker back in again after you've done one stitch. And it's nice because it fits on my finger and I can just put it on my finger, do the thing, take it off my finger and put it back on the needle. Whereas like a normal stitch marker, I'd have to like put it in my mouth or like hold it in my hand whilst knitting one stitch, which is just one stitch, so it's not that big of a deal, but it makes a difference. It's much more pleasurable. It's instead of like, oh, I have to hold stitch marker, excuse me, I have to hold the stitch marker now. It's like, it's fine, you know. It's like, oh, I'll just put up my finger for a second. Anyway, so that's how these are going. And I'm definitely set up to have some leftovers. This definitely won't go with the sock yarn leftovers. It'll do something else probably. Because it's a very different feeling of yarn, different type of yarn. But I'm excited to get back to these because my new cast on, actually I'll show you this. No, I'll go to my new cast on. Where is the finished object? I have a hoe and I have a whip, just like I do for the other socks. We're on to cup number 2 now. Give me a moment, I forgot about where the hoe was. So, this WIP is a test knit by the lovely pair of Josefina and Carlotta, I believe are their names. I test knit for them before the cashmere hat that I made, and it was lovely. And they had these socks that they were saying, oh, I don't know if I'm going to put it out as a pattern because like they're just normal socks. And I said, well, I'll test knit if you need any test knitters, because I had been wanting to make Holly some tube socks and this pattern looked perfect for that. So this is the sock. It's always funny because I always think that this is the top of the sock with Holly's socks because that's probably about the length of a sock for me. But she has very long feet. She's a size 10 UK. So they're long. They're long feet. The funny thing is she still has like, I guess, female width of feet. They're just really long. So most shoes don't fit her, sadly, because they're all far too wide. So I actually cast on for like the size, the size 5 or something with the number. But I made it to the length of the size, 44. So this is a lovely sock pattern. I really like it. It does have a normal twisted rib at the cuff. And then it goes out to this broken rib stitch here. I love the way that works. I think that looks really, really nice. And it's coming out a little bit because of the yarn that I'm using. So I'm using, Holly actually found this yarn on eBay. Can you tell where I buy my yarn usually? And it's called Woolcraft. And it's your normal sock yarn, but it's just like £3. It's, 80-20, I think, wool and nylon. Lots of colours, and I think it's like £3.50 or something on eBay. So she got like 3 different skeins of it because she was like, this is cheap, you can make me socks with this. This is the leftovers I have from a 100-gram skein, and from making a size 10 pair of socks. And you can kind of see from me squishing it. I would say it's probably maybe less than 50 grams. It could be 50 grams. Well, let me hold this. This is 50 grams. It's less than 50 grams. It's maybe 40. I don't have a scale here. Yeah, it's maybe 40 grams left over. So it's certainly enough to make socks for myself if I did like contrast heels and toes, or if I did stripes, or if I did anything. So this is probably going to go in the Arwetta pile and join the Arwetta collection to make some scrappy socks with, because this would be a good base for scrappy socks if you wanted to do it with like one color and then like changing other stuff, but you had a background color, this would be perfect. So yeah, if you're looking for some like really cheap and cheerful sock yarn, Woolcraft on eBay I recommend because it's very cheap. The contrast I am using, this is a little bit sad. I'm going to finish the toe and then I'll probably reball it. It's falling all over the place. This is some yarn that I dyed. Last Christmas, I got a dye kit from my sister, and bless her soul, Holly was like, well, we got to find where we can buy some undyed yarn, because the dye kit came with one skein of undyed yarn. But she was like, well, you want to try some more, don't you? So we found and bought way too much undyed yarn, like a lot. I still have. Do I still have some? No, I think I've dyed it all. Yeah, I've dyed it all apart from this one sweater's quantity of really scratchy thick wool. Anyways, this one I used to make some colourwork socks. They were both hand dyed, the skeins, and this is from Yarn Undyed, and this is their sock base. It's superwash wool, and it's meant to be fingering, but I would say it's at least sport, if not maybe a light DK. And you can tell from the sock that it's much thicker than the fingering weight sock wool, because when I put the stripe in, the sock becomes much wider, and you can tell here as well that it's like comes out, and partially that's because it's no longer ribbing, but it's definitely thicker. There's no question about that. So anyways, I made a pair of socks, colourwork socks with these. I'll put a picture up. And I didn't realise how beautiful this colour came out until I was knitting it on its own, because it was basically just a background colour for this other colour. I am kind of sad that I didn't make a pair of socks just in this colour, because it's so lovely. I mean, I'm impressed with myself. Look at this. It's like rosy fingers of dawn. There's tiny, tiny little bits of purple and then little bits of yellow. I mean, look at that. Such a lovely colourway. And I never knew that it was that pretty until I was knitting with it on its own and looking at how it was coming out. And I was like, I'm so sad that I didn't knit this on its own. So, I did do someone last time when I was discussing the wedge toe, and I was talking about the slip one, knit one, pass slip stitch over, and how it always looks different for me than the knit two togethers. They suggested doing slipping the stitch as if to knit instead of as if to purl, and it did make a difference. That's not as ladder like steppy as it normally looks for me, but it still looks different to my knit two togethers. I mean, look how neat the knit two together is, and look how like laddery that is. It doesn't bother me. Is that wrong? Maybe it does. Once I have it as a garment, I've completely forgotten about it. But I am curious, like, is there a way to make it look the same way as the knit two together? But this is what I meant by the wedge toe is like a raglan, because the increase is as like an obvious situation. Whereas, excuse me, I don't know why I'm going scratchy in the throat. Yes, I do. Too much socializing. Whereas the round toe doesn't have that. There's no like obvious increase area. So this is the pattern, and it uses a short row heel, which makes it really easy to do the contrast heel. And these are the socks. They look a bit like bananas, but Holly's socks always look a bit like bananas. I'll show them on. Actually, when I put them on, they're not that oversized on me. It's funny how socks are, isn't it? It's like, if I put on her shoe, it would look silly. But if I put, well, no, it does look silly. Whee! But she literally has a shoe size that's double the size of my shoe size. But this is where they come to on me. They'll come to about the same place on her, probably, because our ankles and legs aren't that different. And the ribbed, it looks really nice. There it is with the ribbing. I just love this combination of texture with the colours. I think that this texture looks really nice with this pink. Something about it just is very pleasing. Anyway, I'm really pleased with this. And here is the other sock. It is almost finished. Just finishing up the toe. And I came up with this great system yesterday when I was walking. So I've got this is my stitch marker for one side of the decreases, and this is my stitch marker for the other side. And and this is the beginning of round. So on a row where I am not doing any decreases, so when I'm doing a round that has no decreases, I grab both of these markers together, and then when I come back to it and I see that it's like this, then I do it like this, and then that tells me that it's a round where I have to do decreases. So then as I'm going around, I know where I am and I can just do it as I walk. So tempted to just knit a couple stitches right now. So yeah, I mean, I just love the way these colours are coming out. They're kind of washing out a little bit on the screen. It's probably because of the light that's behind me. That was probably poorly thought out. I should probably have closed that curtain. But here we are. Very nice big spot that I've been ignoring. Yeah, it's really washing out actually. Let me try closing the curtain and see if that makes a difference. It is definitely carnage around here today. Does that make a difference to the colour? Yeah, a bit. It still looks really washed out. It's picking up the highlights a lot. I don't know. I'll try and take a photo so you can see. But, no, it's still picking up the I think it's the white. I don't know how cameras work. Anyway, so I'll finish this, I'll reball this, and then I'll put this to the side. It's definitely thicker than all the like Arwetta and stuff. It would be used probably if I was doing like DK socks with two fingering held together. This could be a great contrast with it because it's just as thick, I think. So that is that. And then last weekend I went home and I was like, I knew I was really close to finishing the stripy socks, and I knew I was gonna like bust out those socks because they're a test knit. So I was like, the projects I have, I mean, I can't be doing this Welcome to the Jungle whilst walking. It's definitely not a walk it out kind of situation. And then my new cast on that I'm going to show you, I can't do that either because I'm using multiple skeins of yarn at the same time, and that just is complicated for walking and knitting. And then this is my only other WIP at the moment. This is, as one viewer called it, that tiresome pouch. And it's no longer tiresome, I'm happy to say, because I've finished this bit, which is what you saw last time, and I'm now on the Did you see this last time? I don't know. Maybe you did. If you did, I don't know if I've done any more on it, because I did a fair amount on this honeycomb brioche, which look how cool that is. It's so lovely. I'm really loving how this is coming out. Really, really am. It's really fun. but I've not touched it for a while because I've essentially just been working on, when I'm at home, I've been working on the Welcome to the Jungle. And this was kind of my break from the Welcome to the Jungle, but then I started a different break from the Welcome to the Jungle. So that is what happened. So, I also am using a little system here. So the honeycomb brioche is a repetition of four different rows, or rounds. And so I just have this silver stitch marker here, and it's on the third. Oh, it's on the second stitch marker, which means I'm on the second round of the repeats of 4. And I just move it along. So even though it's been ages, I don't think I know how to read it yet to be able to know where I am just from reading it. So I needed this. So that's where I am. I'm using my Chow Goose, and I've got a ball of Arwetta here. This is colour 270. I got it to go with this mohair, which I got to go with a jumper that actually didn't match the jumper. So then I needed to do something with this mohair, and I decided to make this honey clutch because I've been wanting to for a while. I'm sure I'll have horrendous amounts of extra, but I'm hoping to come up with some kind of mohair project at some point with multiple colours, because I've got some balls of knitting for Olive that are just single balls of mohair, and I'm just like, it'd be good to get them all together and use them for something. Anyways, so that's this, which hasn't had much work on it. So that's not yet particularly, it might be walkable soon actually, that once I get the pattern a bit more, I'll be able to maybe walk and knit with it. But I decided that I wanted some backup sock yarn. So I decided to try and make a pair of socks out of one ball of this Croft Shetland tweed. I got this for my birthday last year from my partner's mum, and it was the first ever birthday gift of yarn that I've had. Isn't that funny? It's funny that lots of times people don't buy knitters yarn, I guess because they think it's like personal. That's what I gather, which is odd to me. But never mind. This was lovely. I loved it. It looks like, kind of reminds me of roses a little bit. It's beautiful. I love the colours, clearly. I like the colours, you know. It's definitely my wheelhouse of colours, and it's lovely. It's worsted weight, 100% Shetland wool. It's made by West Yorkshire Spinners. Sorry, it's Aran weight, which is kind of like worsted weight, I guess. I don't know. 166 metres for 100 grams, or 182 yards for 100 grams. It recommends 18 stitches on a 5mm needle. So I'm hoping to make a pair of worsted weight socks with this. I think that would be lovely. So 100% wool, 100% Shetland Island wool. And I think it would make great sock yarn. Sock yarn! I mean, it's not super thick for an Aran weight, in my opinion. I've got a worsted weight over here that is thicker. This is the worsted weight from Canada. Well, no, I take that back. Pretty similar. I'd say this one's a bit thicker. It feels thicker. You put your hand on it and there's more meat under your finger when you squeeze it than this one. So I'd say this is a little bit thicker. Anyways, yarn thickness is something you could just spend ages just being like, really? Is it? But would you call that a... It's probably best just to nod, smile, and move on. Move swiftly on. It's probably always the best decision with yarn weights and classifications. Anyway, so that's my future plan. a pair of socks with these, I think it will be gloriously pretty. It might be sweet, actually, to like, I don't know, do some contrast heels, toes, and cuffs with like some kind of dark yarn, even like, but then I don't have that here, so I couldn't do it. You know, like a little like dark grey on the heels, and or even just on the heel might be really cute. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll like do up till the heel and then pause and maybe do like some kind of dark grey situation for the heel. I think that could be fun. Like on the heel, right? So that's my future plan with that. I'll show you my final and most exciting WIP, and then is giveaway time. So there's a whole thing. Here is the yarn that I'm using. It is Georgian Bay Fibre Company, which is no longer dyeing, sadly. It's using Briggs & Little worsted weight yarn, and the colourway is Hall's Quarry Quartz. So you can tell that each colourway is pretty strongly different. I did go home and I looked at the colourways the two balls that I had at home, and they were very light. These were the balls that I got in Canada, and then one of the balls is like really dark. So I've got 3 balls that are like midway, sort of this. I've got 1 ball that's very dark, and I've got 2 balls that are really light. So the whole deliberation, I think a fade would have been a genius idea. And had this not already been decided when I read that, I probably would have done a fade, because I think that would have been perfect, because this is literally a fade is what this is. Basically, it's ready to go, all set up for me. However, I showed you my swatch last week, and I did some swatching. This was my swatch, a whole long swatch. I did some swatching for the this was the original swatch that I had done with some cables. I was thinking of doing the braids of grass. And actually what I've chosen to do is I signed up for this test knit for the Love Number sweater by Lily Kate Makes. I just love all of her designs. I think her aesthetic is amazing. I love her designs. And I saw that and I was like, I need to make that. And so I asked to test knit it, and it's like, great, you know, and then I had this yarn in mind that I wanted to use, held double. It was a fingering weight, and I was like, well, that does technically make a worsted weight if you hold it double, but it was a light fingering, and I really don't think it would have made a worsted weight. And also for this jumper, it needs to have a fairly tight gauge. So I was like, I think that's a bad idea. And so I was really, really stressing out about it. I was also really stressing out about what to make with this yarn. And my partner was just like, sorry, let me pause you for a moment. You have this pattern, which is worsted weight, that you need to find yarn for. You have this worsted weight yarn that you need to find a pattern for. And I was like, I'd been like basically not considering that, because I was like, no, the Love Number sweater is like got this detailed yoke with like this sort of lace, sort of stitch, like textured stitch pattern. I don't think that's going to work with the marled yarn. But then I had just done the swatch with texture and I liked it. So I was like, well, I have the pattern. I'm waiting to get yarn for it. So I swatched for the stitch pattern. And granted, I did the stitch pattern wrong. This is incorrect stitch pattern. But I swatched for it, and I thought it looked amazing. And I thought it actually highlighted the like fact that this looks like rock, that this is meant to look like rock. And it made it sort of, it's, and because it's done, the design is done in like like this with, with these little garter bumps in between. It's like strata on a rock. And I was like, this is so perfect. Why was I not considering this? And so what I've done here, it's maybe hard to see. It might actually be easier to see on the back. It kind of is. What I've done is that extra dark color I've used for the stitch pattern, and the more mid-tone I've used in between. And then I tried it with the mid-tone the whole way just to see. And I think that having that little bit extra darkness on the stitch pattern really like makes it pop, versus here, this is the stitch pattern. Granted, I didn't do the I don't know why I didn't do the garter bump on the top there, so it's not exactly the same. But I think having the dark really does make it just pop a bit, which I think is really cool. So what I did was I cast it on. I was really excited. I did the collar, and I did that in the light color. And then I thought, once I get to the yoke, I'll add in the dark color for the stitch pattern. And then once I'm on stockinette, then I will like do 2 balls and swap them. But I didn't do 2 balls and swap them for the collar. And what happened was a giant pool right across the front of my neck. I'll put a picture in. And I was just like, oh. And I did about 3 repeats of the stitch pattern. And because I practiced it on my swatch incorrectly, I did it incorrectly. And then as I was doing it, I was like, let me just double check. I do that sometimes. I'll just like, let me just double check how it's done. Read it, was like, it is wrong, definitely. Because I was kind of looking at it, I was like, it doesn't look exactly the same. There's not so much, if you look at, well, I'll show you I've done a bit now. This looks more like a little like lump. And on the pattern, on her design, it looks a lot more like a little hole, a little like, almost like a little donut, whereas this looks like a little lump. So the problem was I was doing it, twisting my stitch for the pattern. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It will be, I think, a paid for pattern. But anyways, the point is I'd been doing it wrong. I had this pool. I thought, I'm just going to rip it back. So I did. I'm not as far along as I was before. And let me tell you, this is the one time my habit of weaving in my ends immediately really bit me, because I had woven in my ends, and that's also why I'm like resisting weaving in the ends on this a little bit, which is funny. But I'm just gonna like shorten them a bit. I wove in my ends, and then when I was unraveling it, it was impossible because I'd woven them in vertically like this. And so it's like I couldn't, it was a whole thing. It took me ages to unravel. So I'm not as far as I was when I stopped, but I have been switching colors all through the neck. So it no longer has a pool. And I was switching between and this is good as well because I had just got the yarn from home. So once I unraveled, I used the extra light color, of which I have 2 balls, mixed with the mid color for this. And then I broke off the extra light color because my plan is to use the extra light color for all the ribbing mixed in with the mid color. And so I broke off the extra light color and I added in the extra dark color, which is what I use on the stitch pattern. And you can see here, the stitch pattern looks more like a circle, or a little bit more like a circle. And then I'm doing the mid color in between here. So yeah, it's lovely. I don't know if, will this go over my head? Yes. So obviously this is like not gonna go out, but it's gonna be a nice like little stand-up collar like this, and I love it. I love a collar like this. I love it so much. And this changing of colors, one thing I'll say about it is you lose a little bit that sense of like rock because you're not on one skein of yarn, so you kind of like jostling a little bit. It does make it less pooly, but it looks a little bit more like dotty and less rocky. But I think I do prefer without a pool right at the center of my throat. Anyway, so I'm working on this yoke. It's really fun. I love the stitch pattern. It's so much fun. And it's a whole thing because I'm a disaster. So the mid-tone color, I balled up a second skein of it to use. But the dark color, because I only have one skein of this dark color, I'm knitting from the back of the ball. Sorry, I'm knitting from the outside of the ball, because for the swatch, I knit from the inside of the ball. This is something I should remember for next time. When I'm swatching, use the outside of the ball, because if I do a swatch like this that I want to like keep and just for reference or something, or like look at a bit, I'm almost never in my life going to cut the yarn. Which there's lots of reasons to keep swatches, and that's fantastic, and I definitely don't disagree with those reasons. However, A, I like to use up all the yarn, and B, I don't have a lot of space, so I don't want to keep swatches around, even though this is very pretty. I have a tendency to be a collector, so if I started like collecting swatches, it'd be a whole thing. But mostly it's that I want to use all of the yarn. My ideal is like this. This was the leftovers of a jumper, and I used it to make a top, and I used every single scrap of yarn that I had bought, and I was like, this is perfect. This is what I want in my life. So when I make swatches, I make them and then I keep them for as long as I want to keep them. I'm glad I kept this one because I almost just did the whole of the yoke in the dark color, thinking, well, because I'm increasing, it's not going to pool, because as you increase, it changes where the colors sit anyways. But I'm glad I had kept the swatch because I looked at it again and I went, no, I really do like how it looks with the dark here and the lighter in between. So I'm going to keep it a bit more. And then basically that means that this swatch has 2 different colors of yarn attached to it, which means there's 2 balls attached to the swatch. And one of the balls is the ball that I'm using in the project. So that means this is attached to the swatch. This is what I'm knitting off of. And I have to like pull it such that it's not like tangling with this thread. And then my project has 2 balls. One is not attached to the swatch and one is. So there's literally 3 balls attached, 3 balls and a swatch attached to this project, which is why I can't like walk around and do it. Otherwise I could, because it's the yoke is easy and memorizable and wonderful. And then on top of that, because I started doing some of the really light colour, but I hadn't balled up the light colour yet, I was like, I'm not balling another ball of yarn. I've balled 3 of these already. So I just knit that one out of the big loop. So that's sitting on the sofa as well. So literally there are 4 skeins of yarn sitting on the sofa that I was knitting off of at one point, or needing to have attached to me whilst I was knitting this project. So once I finish this ball, if I do for the yoke, which I kind of doubt, but if I do, I'll start knitting off of the swatch, and then it's still attached, so that's great. So yeah, that's just my own, as Woolen Vine would say, my own personal brand of crazy. I love her podcast, by the way. Check it out if you haven't. It's wonderful. Either Kristen or Kirsten from Woolen Vine. Woolen Vine? I think it's with a W, but pronounced like a V. Woolen Vine. I don't know why I just got really spacey. Okay, carrying on. I think I'm just a little overwhelmed by the mess that's around me. It's very messy. I'm actually going to give you chaos cam right now, just so that you can appreciate how stressed I am about this chaos. I mean, what even is that? Oh, I think that's probably, I don't even know. I don't know what that is. That's my bag that fell out. All my stuff fell out of the bag. This is the sofa where I do that. That's all the balls that are attached to the project. Here's the project. We'll just put it back over there. So, that's that. The table's not been tidied. That's there. And over here is a bunch more stuff. So we're going to have a tidy when we finish this project, when we finish this podcast. So, it's giveaway time now. I will show you the giveaway. This is a project bag made by the owner of Yarn Queen's friend. This is cord and they're little hedgehogs. And I saw it in the window and I was like, obsessed. Love this. So I got it. It does have a zip, which is maybe not ideal for a project bag but it's a very small zip. It's very small. I don't think you would get your yarn caught in this teeth unless you had incredibly thin yarn. But since it's such a big project bag, you might be doing a bigger project, something with... anyways, it's a zipped project bag. That's fine. So, I've got some goodies in here for you. And look at this project bag. The inside is this beautiful yellow. And there's some pockets in the corduroy sewn in, which is great. So, firstly, there's this really cute sheepy notebook with a little sheepdog in the front and really beautiful sheep everywhere. It's a blank notebook, so you can write some project notes in there. It's quite thick paper. It's almost sketch paper. That's nice. And when you finish it, you can just take the notebook out and put a new one in here. So I think that's really cool. As long as the notebook, fits, I guess. So it's a lovely idea, isn't it? Just like a little sewn cover for a notebook. And it's sheep, so I thought you would really like that. So that's that, little cute little thing. Go in your project bag with your notes. And then, since a lot of people said that they liked the colour on my Wednesday sweater, I got you a ball of the mohair I used for that. So I used this one ball of mohair. This is hand dyed by the owner of Yarn Queen in Prague. And it's kid silk lace, 70% kid silk mohair, 30% silk. And the colourway is Circus, and it's 420 meters. And it's got yellow and pink and blues and greens. And I used this held with an Aran weight to make a whole jumper. And I had leftovers enough to make a hat in brioche, then a pair of mitts, and I still have leftovers that I'm going to use, really small mitts to be fair, like quite small. And I still have enough to be able to put a ruffle on a pair of child socks with it. So, lots of possibilities with this. But yeah, I thought I'd get that because people seem to really like it, and it's a very Prague. So you've got a Prague handmade bag, and you've got a Prague hand-dyed skein of wool. And then, because I love this so much, I got you some Kremke Soul linen. So Kremke Soul wool, lazy linen. This is Moolising free wool, and it's a sock base, but it's 80% wool, 20% linen. And this is what I used to make my single sock of the test knit I did of the the socks for Not a Day Without Knitting. I'll pop a picture up. I still need to make the second sock, but I loved it so much. And I have 2 balls of this at home. I'm just deliberating on what I want to make with it. So this is sock yarn, but you know, you can do whatever you want with it. But if you're interested in trying some rustic, no nylon socks, this feels divine. You can see the little bits of linen in it, and I think it just adds to what it looks like. This is like a very light blush colour, and I was originally getting like more of an oatmeal that was more almost yellowy, but I kind of actually thought that this blush looked better with this if you wanted to pair them, you know, a fingering weight ball of wool with this mohair. I don't know if you would, but I wanted it to sort of feel like it went nonetheless. And I think this little like sort of blush colour is just divine. And the woman in the shop also told me that the wool, the linen is from Belgium, but I think the wool is actually from Czech Republic on these. I mean, that's what the woman in the shop told me. It could be wrong. But I was like, do you have any Czech wool? And she was like, this is the only thing we have that's Czech wool. So potentially Czech. She may have been wrong. But I love this yarn so much. And I don't do a lot of yarn shopping, so maybe you can get it easily in the UK or wherever you are, but maybe not. So that's cool. This is 420 meters, also exact same meterage as the mohair, 100 grams, and yeah, it says hard-wearing linen and insulating wool make this fully biodegradable yarn perfect for comfortable socks and refined garments. Sustainably grown and harvested in Belgium, linen fibre adds durability and drape, naturally undyed for a subtle, hazy appearance and blended with soft, pure wool for warmth and luxury. It's definitely luxurious. I love it so much. This feeling, it's just so soft. It does... It doesn't really say if the wool is superwash. So I don't know if it is or not. I don't know what what's the thing there? Is it like, if it is superwash, you have to say, and if it's not, it doesn't? I don't know what the thing would be. So I got 2 other things, kind of on a whim. And possibly for you, depending on what they were. I got these little petite knit things. One is elastic thread. And due to the bag, I couldn't quite see what it looked like. But I've been kind of on the hunt for some elastic thread. This looks really great. It's really thin and it's pretty... I mean, it is white, isn't it? But it's almost... It's not like bright white. So I'm going to probably use this with a pair of cotton socks I want to make. And I'm going to try casting on with elastic thread and wool. And the cotton for the cast on edge. Because I've seen machine knit sweaters where that's what they do on the cuffs of them. And so I want to give that a try and see what that's like. So I got that. It's not wool. Even though I did buy wool this week. Literally, how many times am I going to have wool during acquisitions on my year of no wool buying? So far, I think it has been 100% of the time. Not great for February, folks. Not great. Then I also got Petite Knit's version of the knitting barber cords, because I wanted to compare them in width of the little hole. Because the one thing I thought with the knitting barber was it wasn't that they were too small, it was that they weren't big enough. I was thinking it'd be nice to have ones that you could use on bigger needles. And these ones these ones are kind of bigger. So this is the Knitting Barber cords, and this is Petite Knits cords. I mean, they're pretty similar, aren't they? These are used to make it easier to try something on. So actually with this, where I was trying it on before and I couldn't like stretch out what you can do is you can attach the cord onto the needle tip. And then you can let the stitches kind of stretch out, and you can pretend like basically your needles are much longer than they really are. And then you can try things on more easily. I've shown these before when I got them from the Knitting Barber, but I wanted to see if the Petite Knit ones were a different size. And I thought if they weren't a different size, then I could give them to you as part of the giveaway. So yeah, these are the Petite Knit ones. There are 5 pieces. There's 3 2mm by 1 meter and 2 2mm by 1.5 meters. Whereas the Knitting Barber ones come with, I think, only 3, 1.5 meters and then 2 75cm ones. So the Petite Knit ones actually come with more cable, more cords and longer cords. So yeah, they seem pretty much the same to me. So I will pass these along to you. These Petite Knit cords. Pass on the love because they're a great thing. So now you can kind of see it laying more flat because I've made the needles much longer by extending them with these cables. And then when you want to like retrieve your needle, you basically just pull the cable and the needle comes through. I mean, me as an overly cautious person would probably tend to just push the needle through just in case. But I think you really can just pull the cable. Again, I'm pushing. So yeah, and then I think to get them off, you do just pull and they come off. So those will go in your bag of goodies as well. So if you would like to win the giveaway, I would love for you to well, why don't you tell me what you might make with either the Kremke sole wool or the sorry, I got distracted in my head. Got distracted in my brain. Putting these back into the bag. Tell me what you might make with either the Kremke sole wool or the do you know what I might do? Just because I'm really cheeky. I might steal one of the short ones. Yeah, because there's 3 1 meter long ones and 2 1.5 meters. I'm going to steal one short one, meter long one, and just to compare it to the Knitting Barber ones. This is purely for posterity. This is purely for your sake, so that you can have a good comparison between the Knitting Barber and the Petite knit ones. Is that really rude? I think it's fine. I think it's okay. My deepest apologies to whoever wins this, but the what it says on the package will be wrong, because there will be one less of these. Because I'm going to steal one. So you will have 4 instead of 5. This feels really rude. So anyways, now that I've pilfered your prize. Well, I mean, to be fair, if they were a different size, I did technically buy them for myself. I just thought if they were the same size, there's no need for me to have a whole pack of extra ones of the exact same size. But they're very different texture to the Knitting Barber ones. And I'm curious to see if that makes them easier to use or harder to use, or if it makes them better wearing or not. So this little pack will be wrong. It says 5 pieces. You will receive 4. Thank you for sharing. All right, moving swiftly on. If you would like to win this giveaway, it's to thank you for being my viewer and subscribing. I have 515 subscribers at this stage, which is very exciting. And so I'm doing a giveaway for 500 subscribers. And if you would like to win the giveaway, tell me what you are thinking you could make with the Kremke Soul or with the mohair. And then I will pick a winner on the next episode, and I will post this little bag of goodies off to you, whoever you may be. So good luck, and I hope you have a lovely day, and I hope that you are not overwhelmed by tidying, and if you are, I'm sending you strength and power. You can do it. As can I guess. Right. Onwards and upwards. Craft on with fearless vigor and don't be obstructed by perfection. Okay, see you later.